Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast and my YouTube channel. I'm so excited to chat with you today around one of my favorite topics, which is helping you figure out your passion, your story, your life's work, your purpose. And today we're going to be pulling from chapter 2 of my brand new book, Shine Bright, which is all about discovering your message, building confidence sharing, and making a difference. You can find it on Amazon or Audible. If you want to hear me narrate the book, then you can do that. And I want to give a special shout out to Michelle and Gabrielle, our latest reviews on Amazon for the book. So thank you so much. I see you. I appreciate you. And I'm really grateful for you reading. And I hope that this supports you if you're watching this. So I thought it would be fun to dive into a little bit of chapter 2 of the book, which is all about discovering your message. So if you feel like you have always had this feeling that you want to do something big and you want to contribute, but you're not sure what your message, your story, your business, your podcast, your book, whatever it may be, would be, then this chapter shows you that every single person has a story and a message to share that can make a difference. And it walks through all kinds of ways to help you figure out what yours would be. And so today I just want to share a few of them. If you are interested and this really resonates, then definitely check out the book for all the ways to find your message and your legacy in life's work. But I thought it'd be fun to dive into a few today that can really support you and get your brain going on some ideas. So the first place I would start is, what have you gone through or experienced? Because we've all gone through things, especially if you're in a season right now that's kicking your butt and you're like, what do I have to share or contribute? I would challenge you to reframe that as the exact thing that you could use as your message to one day help others. So I mentioned in the book, and maybe you've heard me share on the podcast, but one of the things I started doing a few years ago was opening up a notes app on my phone. And anytime I was going through something that was challenging to me, I would just start to take notes as I was learning things. So anytime I'd get like the littlest aha moment, or feel like I made headway in some small way, I would write it down in the notes app. You can use a Word doc or Google Docs, whatever you like to use. But I started to realize that once I got to the other side, that was like a book. That was a podcast, many episodes. Like that actually became this exact book. I talk about how, I used to really struggle with shining, with sharing my message. Like I had all the creativity and ideas in the world oftentimes, but actually sharing it was the harder part for me, and still is in many ways. But as I've gone through starting a podcast and writing books and publishing videos on YouTube and, you name it, building businesses, I've gotten much more comfortable and I've learned a lot of tips and tricks around shining and sharing confidently. And so eventually I looked back at my notes and was like, this is a book. Like this can help someone who is at least starting where I was. And I'm sure as I learn more, I will get ideas for helping the next, level and stage. But it surely can help whoever was starting where I was, scared to even publish that first podcast episode or write the book or whatever it may be. So I would really think through, what have you gone through? And if you can't even think of what you've gone through, what are you going through now? Because that could be the thing that you use as your story or message or help others with. So whether it's navigating life after a divorce at age 50, whether it is raising twins or toddlers, whether it is moving somewhere you never have believed you could even move, whether it's starting a business, whether it's getting you stronger, whatever it may be. We're humans. We're always learning and growing through things. And you going through something can help someone else eventually get from point A to point B, just like you did. So start looking at your struggles as your story, as the thing that you will one day help others with or write about or contribute in some way. That could be where you find your message. So that's one place for you to look. The second place that I would think about is what has been something that you do differently than others. So that can be a place where you start a podcast, where you write a book, where you offer workshops, because you have a different perspective than maybe no one else has. So in the book, I talk about this story of this person that I love to follow on social media. Her account is called Midlife Muse. And I'm fascinated by her because she has this beautiful, really unique perspective, and I think needed perspective in this day and age on aging and on getting into midlife, not feeling like this less youthful, less vibrant version of yourself, but like this more embodied, more even magnetic version of yourself with all of the wisdom and life experiences that you have acquired, and even just like this beautiful acceptance of your aging body. I know as women, we are all bombarded all the time by all the things that you can do to maintain your youthful appearance. And I just love seeing her because she goes against that narrative that we've heard a million times and that we probably hear every single day in some way. So for her, she has this perspective and philosophy in life that it's not about the skincare, it's really about the soul care, and it's about this beauty and youthfulness and vibrancy emanating from inside out versus like what you can put on yourself going outside in. And so she has grown. I mean, I found her really early on when she only had a few thousand followers, and now the last time I checked it was hundreds of thousands. She might even be at 1 million now. I don't know. I hope she is. Because I think it's such a powerful message for people and so refreshing to hear and to learn and to like incorporate into your being. And so that's something that she does differently than others. Her perspective comes from aging, but maybe you do something different when it comes to maybe you homeschool your kids. Maybe you have been a digital nomad. Maybe you felt like the corporate path wasn't exactly right, and so you carved your own. Maybe you gave it all up to backpack around Asia. And like there's just so many ways that you could do things differently. And I would encourage you to look at those in order to find what could be your story, the way you contribute. It could be a book you write. It could be a podcast you start. In my book, Shine Bright, I go through how you actually take this thing that you think of as your story and break it into actual episodes or chapters of a book, or like tips you could give on social media. But that's not this episode here. That would be too much for one episode. But you can definitely check out Shine Bright if you want more of that. But I would just start thinking big, kind of high level, what could be your story? And one of the things and ways you could find it would be, what do you do differently than others? And then the last one that I would give you is, what breaks your heart? What breaks your heart in the world? Theologian Frederick Buechner says that the place God calls you is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. I've always loved that quote because I just think there's so much truth in it. Like, we all have different passions. We have different things that inspire us. And so if you can combine something that really lights you up and fulfills you with this deep need in the world, I mean, what better intersection of how to use your gifts and to also feel so fulfilled and lit up by life. So think about what breaks your heart in the world. Is it gun violence at schools? Is it seniors sitting alone in a nursing home on the holidays? Is it the amount of bickering in politics? It could be so many things in the world that break your heart. I share in the book, stories of people who have applied it to animal rights, to all kinds of things. And so I would look there. I would look at, what do you come home and talk to your spouse about because you're so frustrated this thing happened again? When you see something on the news, what is the thing that triggers you that you wish was different? When you're scrolling social media, what do you see and have a reaction to? All of those things could become what you turn into your platform or your movement, because if you want to see something done differently, you could be the person that changes it. I know that, there's other people out there, and sometimes there's that feeling of it's too big for me to take on. But if you're the one that it keeps coming back to, What if life is like calling you to be that person? And there's so many ways we can all contribute in our daily life. I mean, it could be anonymously donating funds to things. It could be starting a nonprofit of some kind. It could be making an account on social media that helps educate. It could be the podcast or book route. It could be speaking. It could be workshops in your community. It could be so many things, but they all make a little difference and create this ripple effect, even if it's in our own homes and families, like educating our children or helping raise them to contribute in the way that we would want other citizens and humans to. So I would look in those places to start figuring out, like, what is your story that could then turn into all these other creative outlets. So again, it could be what's something that you do differently than others, what's something that you've gone through or are going through now, what's something that breaks your heart. And if you're looking for the other ways, then definitely check out my book, Shine Bright. And again, we also talk about, once you figure out that message, what do you do then? How do you actually break it into things that you can share, into content ideas, into ways to advance your message and move it forward in the world? So that's something to watch for as well. But again, that's from chapter 2 of my book. It's all about discovering your message, chapter 2. So let me know if this resonates, and in watching or listening, what ideas came to you for things that you could contribute and help others with. I would love to see your book in the world one day, your podcast. I want to see your nonprofit. I want to participate or contribute in any way that I can to the cause that you start. And it just creates this positive, like, up spiral in the world for all of us when we start sharing, again, as Frederick Buechner states, where our deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. So I look forward to seeing your work out in the world.